Considering the moon's different conditions compared to Earth, if someone dies on the moon, will their body decompose or will something like a lunar mummy be created? When you die on Earth, even if you don't want to think about it, you usually know what happens to your body. But if you die in space, on the moon, or on the way to the moon, what happens to your body? Although NASA probably doesn't like to think about this, the space agency has predetermined plans for cases where death occurs in space. Chris Hadfield, astronaut and former commander of the International Space Station, ISS, says NASA conducts drills for situations where someone might die in space. In these drills, called death simulations, astronauts learn what to do if such an event occurs and how to cope with the situation. Hadfield explains that if someone dies while performing a task outside the spacecraft, such as a spacewalk, the first step is to bring the body back into the airlock. He adds that if someone dies in space, the body is kept inside the spacesuit, because if it is removed, the smell of decomposition would spread and disturb the other astronauts. The body is then placed in a cold area of the space station so that the low temperature slows decomposition. On the ISS, the problem of an astronaut's death can be resolved relatively quickly. In such a case, the body is first kept for a while in the colder part of the station, and then perhaps the most unique funeral or body transport in human history would take place. Ultimately, the ISS program unit makes the final decision about how to store or dispose of the remains. If an astronaut dies on the ISS, NASA has three options. First, return the body to Earth. Second, send the body on a trajectory to be completely destroyed. Or third, release the body into Earth's atmosphere so it burns up and disappears. NASA will also consider the astronaut's previously stated wishes. However, on longer missions, such as a trip to Mars, different methods of handling remains may be required. The body could be released into space, but this might turn it into space debris, posing risks to spacecraft and equipment. Throwing a body into space also violates international laws designed to prevent space debris and could cause problems and tensions between countries. One NASA proposal is to place the deceased's body in a bag and attach it to a robotic arm outside the spacecraft. In space, the body freezes. The robotic arm then shakes the bag for 15 minutes, breaking the body into small pieces. The water inside the bag evaporates through a valve, and in the end, about 25 kilograms of remains are left, which must be returned to Earth. Susan Wig-Massac, from a company providing environmentally friendly burial services, says everything inside a spacecraft must be compact and precisely arranged, since there is little space and no room to store an intact body. For this reason, the number of body bags must equal the number of crew members minus one, because the last person cannot place their own body in a bag. But what happens if you reach the moon and die there? There are still no specific instructions for handling the body of someone who dies on the moon. The decision would likely depend on the opinions of the other astronauts on the mission and the support teams on Earth. The wishes of the deceased astronaut would also be taken into account. NASA is very careful to prevent Earth microbes from being transferred to other planets or moons. Therefore, if the astronaut's body is not returned to Earth, NASA would prefer to burn it to eliminate microbes. If this is not possible, for example, if all crew members die, the bodies might be buried or left on the lunar surface. If a body is left on the moon's surface, it will not decompose as it does on Earth. If you die during lunar daytime while wearing a spacesuit, the bacteria inside your body will begin the normal decomposition process, just as on Earth. But this process won't last long or be very effective, because the water in the body quickly evaporates in the near-vacuum environment of the moon. When the long lunar night begins, lasting 14 Earth days, your body freezes and bacterial activity stops completely. At that point, since no bacteria remain to decompose the body, the soft tissues stay intact and the body turns into a lunar mummy. Without Earth's protective atmosphere and magnetic field, cosmic radiation further breaks down the body. This process is extremely slow and could take millions of years until only bones remain. The moon's extreme temperature changes, ranging from 127 C during the day to 173 C at night, also affect the body and may cause it to break apart through repeated freezing and thawing. If your body is buried on the moon, it would be shielded from harmful radiation on the surface, and the extreme cold would preserve it for some time in a mummified state. Ultimately, if you are going to die, it is better to do so on Earth, because in space it creates many complications for space agencies.